Hello and welcome to the sAY Report. You didn't hear that groovy song that Sejan found because this is an intro for this episode this week. Hi, I'm Devin Decker.
Hey, I'm Siegen Sarowick.
Yay! And
What? Were we waiting for applause? Is that what we
I
were
think
doing?
I was
The
waiting
applause
to.
effect?
Where's that applause? Yay! We're on a
Excellent,
roll.
excellent.
Also, kind of sounds like
Ah!
Godzilla. Right? All
Why
right.
do we need an intro this week?
We
Okay,
need
let's
an
keep doing
intro
it still
this
sounds
week.
instead. No,
Be-
why do we need an
All right. Read your line. We wrote a script for this, and we should be using it.
Say there, Devin. Why are we recording an intro this week?
Well, there, Sejan, because I finally got in all the records and why our show's not doing so well. Yep, that's the bit I'm going with. But the
Oh,
problem
no.
is, I learned something, and that's that the podcast ratings, they come out every Tuesday. So by releasing our show on Monday night, we're like shooting ourselves in the foot because we're barely out there long
Oh,
enough to be considered in the podcast ratings.
we didn't realize that.
No, you know why
Oh,
we didn't
man.
realize that? Because it's fucking bullshit.
Why?
But exactly how Alex Incorporated, Alex Inc. started its finale episode.
Oh. Womp womp.
Every Tuesday, the podcast ratings come in, and it's a bit of a hubbub around the office as we gather around to see how we did that week. What? And they were number one. That's the thing. So, like, oh, our podcast company is growing too fast for us. What are we going to do now? Oh, Rooney loves working on podcasts and hate being a lawyer. She's going to quit her job, too, to follow her dream.
Oh, God.
Literally,
Oh, God.
Sejan hasn't seen it. I did see it. And the reason why we're recording this intro is because this still is, but this is what we call a time capsule episode. It's a new thing we're experimenting with in wake of the plague of the first week of April. Was it the first week of April that happened?
I think so. Yeah, man. When like everybody was sick in
Yeah.
like in the world, and then The Walking Dead started, and
Yeah,
now we release
exactly.
podcasts to like zombies. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like, so we're like, we should probably have an episode in the bank, so that if that ever happens again, we can release it, and then once we're healthy, we can resume normal podcasting, right? Having one in the bank is being
Yes.
really unprepared. I'm just like saying that out loud.
Yeah. But anyway, so you are going to probably from time to time, and this has happened before. I don't know why we're only taking now to explain this to you guys why we do it this way, but you will hear episodes that maybe have been recorded at times that are maybe out of time, and anybody that listens to our show on a regular basis knows we're relatively timely with what we talk about. So it's a little bit of a project for us to try and figure out how to bank episodes that aren't going to maybe stick around too long. For instance, we record a show about a television show that we're kind of into / maybe questioning, and then
Morbidly
all of a sudden that show gets
curious
canceled,
about
and maybe that
that.
morbidly curious is the right way to look at it, and because then that show gets canceled, and then we have a banked show that is quickly aging out fast. So you're gonna get one of those today.
Yes. Once I read the news that Alex Inc. was canceled, I'm like, we got to fast track it. Luckily, I am going away next week, so we had to record one early anyway. But we wanted to explain it because, it's not going to have that like cool section of Brendan Fraser History Month that May usually has. And we're going to say the word time capsule so many times, it's going to lose all meaning for you. So apologies in advance.
Yeah. And also, I want to say one thing before we get too deep into this. We are putting this out. Show was indeed canceled and is not going to come back. And I feel like on looking back on what we recorded, I wanted to be clear that we've come across as a little negative about the show because we weren't sure about it, and now knowing its fate, I think we can all see why. But I do want to say that, like, I don't know about you, Devin, but I was very much hoping the show was going to turn it around.
Okay, so here's the
I just
thing.
wanted that to be out there.
That's good,
Yeah.
right? Because we want to hopefully book Zach Braff one day. He's available. His show got canceled. No, it's more the fact. Um, the best way to describe it is I watched the finale last night. What will now be the series finale for this show until, like, I don't know, Crackle swoops in and saves it. Right? It's got to be Crackle, right? Because CISO's gone. So if anybody's saving Alex Inc., it's Crackle.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Crackle. This isn't a Hulu pickup. This isn't a Netflix or an Amazon dive-in. This is going to be something like Crackle or Shout Factory is going to jump in there and do something with
we're
it.
An internet,
but yes.
We're an internet TV show, and this is a show about the internet. Crackle approved. So as I watched the finale last night, I afterwards I felt like kind of blasé. Like, I'm like, oh really? Like, that was how they were gonna end the season? Because, like, the worst part about it is Rooney pulling an Alex right at the end and also quitting her job to pursue podcasting. like that's the thing that happened to end it. It's like, okay, and this season, I've told Sijin, the 9th episode is literally a rehash of the 5th episode. Like, without a doubt or a question, it is the same basic plot, but like 4 episodes later. Because, you know, it features Rooney's mother, and she was a great character. So it's like, let's bring her back. Okay, but we kind of dealt with everything last time she was here. Oh, it's okay. We'll make them deal with the exact same thing again. Right? TV.
Yeah, see,
people
returning
don't
characters are
remember.
totally fine, you know, like, returning side characters is a totally fine trope that I love. It's just you got to do something new with them each time, clearly. But yeah. So what you're about to hear is going to be us kind of ripping the show to shreds. And I just wanted it to be clear before we dove into it that, like, I was pulling for it. I mean, it's a Zach Braff show. It's about a subject matter that I like, and it's him doing narration again. How could they go wrong? Well, give it a watch and you'll see.
Watch the 10 episodes that are out there, and you'll see. But also, like, Rooney coming on board the show, she is a monster. We say that she is a monster at least 4 times in what you're about to hear. And if she comes to work with them, that would be a huge, like, character revamp over the time off required to make her less of a monster. If she's going to be there all the time. So that's the thing.
So just a couple of quick... a couple of quick questions I have, like, Devin, because you know a little bit more about this than I do. So this is, like, officially in the water, right? Like, this isn't like they had, like, episodes, like, waiting and they pulled it. Like, we're not going to get a surprise, like, 3 episodes on top of the, what was it, 9, 10?
10 episodes, and this was categorized as a finale everywhere that I have found it.
Okay.
So if there's more episodes, they're probably rehashes of episodes that were good before. Like, are they really new? Or
so don't worry, you've seen them.
You've definitely seen the A plot. Maybe the B plot is a little bit different. But, like, that's the thing. And also, if you would like Zach Braff to be on the sAY Report, we got to start that grassroots campaign right now. So without any further ado, here is our time capsule episode about Alex Inc. And make sure you stick around for after the episode, where we will have one beautiful offering to the joy that is Brendan Fraser History Month. Hello and welcome to the sAY Report, and this is a very momentous occasion. This is what we're going to be calling a time capsule episode. So today, April 22, aka 422, the second biggest weed holiday. Get it? Because it's like 422. So it's Saturday, April 22nd, 2018. So everything that we're talking about today, you're probably not listening to this the week following that. Usually we record an episode, release it the week after, but CJ and I got real sick that first week of April, and we didn't have any content to provide, so we're like, well, why don't we do these time capsule ones? We tried doing one before, that eventually became the Kesha Report, and we'd used a lot of timely references, and then we referenced back to it. So this one, the hope is, and the stringent guidelines that I have set for myself and Sijin, is that this is going to be in a little box. We're putting this in a little plexiglass box. We cannot reference anything that we mention in this outside of this episode. and we're going to talk about something, and you're going to listen the next time one of us is too ill to record. So if you're hearing this, please send us your thoughts and prayers. Is that enough time, Siegen? You awake now?
Hey man, what's going on? Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. Yeah, I like the idea that you're gonna try and stop us from ever referencing anything that happens in this episode. This is an episode out of time.
Yeah, right. It's like it's in the slide cage, right? To go with
There we go.
sliders. I prefer. I don't want to reference time travel anymore. Let's mention dimension travel.
Yeah.
But so the big thing that we want to talk about, and remember, this is being recorded on April 22nd, 2018, is the new ABC show starring Zach Braff,
Yes,
Alex
because we
Inc.
thought how to make a timeless episode other than talk about the premiere of a new show.
Well, the way that I justified it, I was driving around with Jeff, and there were no good movies to see, so we decided that we would literally just drive around, wasting time. And driving down Route 6, just as we got to the Swansea line, right?
Nice.
Like that McDonald's that's at exit 2 off of 195 in Massachusetts.
Okay,
I'm like,
we don't go beyond that line.
so what I wanted to do is like, by putting it into this time capsule episode, what our discussion about Alex Inc. is insulated from us saying like, this is going to be something everyone is using every day. Google Glass. No, it wasn't. You said that. You're an idiot. So the beauty of us doing this episode is that if we had put this into a regular episode, this discussion about Alex Incorporated, and then we're like, this show's fucking terrible, it's probably going to get canceled, and then it runs for 7 seasons and wins all the Emmys, we look like idiots, and people can be like, yes, just go to episode 67 of the sAY report, and those fucking morons didn't believe. Now you
They
can
were
go to that.
non-believers.
Or if it does like crash and burn, we don't have to feel responsible, right? Because we only kept it in our slide cage for us to enjoy and imagine.
Man, I am very much enjoying the mental gymnastics that are going on.
Oh, dude.
with this.
That's what happens when we record at 9:00 on a Sunday. My mental gymnastics training is Sunday mornings, so you are getting to witness it firsthand in this recording.
Meanwhile, I am just dying for another cup of coffee. But yeah, okay.
But the most important thing to remember is that this is April 22nd, 2018, because the siblings have been threatening to talk about Alex Inc. on sAY Report Jr., and no, we talked about it first, even if you didn't get to hear about it first.
Oh, damn. It's a time capsule episode and a spite episode
right,
all rolled up into one.
And, just like a spliff. Because it's 422.
You are loving this joke.
Dude,
man.
I came up with it on 420, and I'm like, this is brilliant. People have to have made this joke before, right? I've never heard it, though.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so you've seen all 5 episodes of Alex Incorporated?
Yeah, so at this point in the story, 5 episodes have aired. I have seen all 5, yes. Where are we going with this, Devin? What are we doing? Because man, I've got all sorts of weird opinions and feelings about this show, and it all depends on how you want to look at it.
Honestly, I just want to look at it as the goopy, sloopy mess that the show is. that we once said AP Bio doesn't know what it wants to be. I want to apologize forever to AP Bio. Because AP Bio, even though like it felt unbalanced, and I'm pretty sure you mistook Lyric Lewis for Niecy Nash. Pretty sure.
No, Niecy Nash is the one that plays the rep from the union, right?
Right, but you were all like, Niecy
Okay.
Nash is supposed to be like a big part of this show. We're
Because
currently 11 episodes into AP Bio.
Yeah,
And-
I said that when 3 episodes before the show had even started, 3 episodes had gone out for review, and everybody was talking about how the only part that they really wanted to see continue on was the Niecy Nash part. And as you were pointing out, that actually doesn't exist outside of that episode. So for a lot of people trying to put their finger on what the hell that show is supposed to be, no, I said that because she straight up got interviewed about that show, about what it was like working on that show, with the intention of the interview being, what's it like to be on this new show? Lo and behold, she was just a guest star.
Okay, so I've been holding that against you ever since you said it. This is consider this your redemption moment, and people won't
Yeah.
probably hear it for years. Um, but yeah, because it's like she showed up that one episode. She was a pretty strong force, but if she were to be in the show all the time, she would be a domineering force, and I don't think they would get to tell the story that they want to tell.
Well,
Which
and
is,
again, it's
yeah,
because that show, if for the first 3 or 4 episodes, trying to figure out what it is or what it was, like that storyline is at least something people could hold on to. So I think what people latched onto with that was just the idea that it was like, oh, this is like conflict and like a solid thing that could continue. So if this is going to be one of those shows where the storyline goes throughout, then this is an important moment. But what didn't end up being one of those shows because again, nobody knew what it was going to be or trying to be.
also,
Like
that episode, like, for all intent and purposes, totally felt like we need to do an episode that will grab people's attention as
hmm
the second episode of this show.
right.
Because it does not fit in the timeline of the other 9 shows that aired after it at
Yeah,
all. Like,
not really.
you already know who Helen is in that episode, and then Helen is introduced to Jack in the 3rd episode. Like, that was 100% NBC, like, the pilot's good, but we want to make sure we grab an audience.
Right.
Let's make an episode of this show that's not going to be like any of the other episodes of this show. And that brings us to Alex Incorporated, a show that, honestly, I have no fucking idea what's going on. I didn't know
Yeah.
until the 5th episode that it was set in New York. I was convinced it was set in LA. Because
Oh, I thought it was going to be a nondescript like city with hipster. You know what I mean? Like part Portland, part New York, part whatever they needed it to be.
all right, but I'm thinking podcast company.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking LA. I'm
Yeah.
thinking first of all, podcast company. Can we talk about the term podcast company? Are we a podcast company? Or do we just have a podcast? What's the distinction between those two things?
Yeah. Okay, so here's my thoughts so far, at least initially. If it's trying to be a show about podcasting, that's not doing a good job. There's a lot of weird things that it's doing. Also the fact that like it's not building on anything. He's not getting better. You know what I mean? Like for instance, the perfect example of that is we're just doing this. We're just spoiling things, right?
Oh, but yeah, okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah, okay. So the best example of that is episode 4, I believe it is, in which they build like the recording booth,
That's
and then
episode 3.
episode 3. Well, then
Yeah.
that's even worse because then for 4 or 5, the recording booth doesn't exist, and they're recording again just anywhere he wants it. So like the idea being he's not becoming a better podcaster. It's not building on the idea that he builds the sound booth and then there it is. Like that's the next step in his big like growth as a recorder, because as a recording artist, because then it doesn't ever come back. Like so he's not improving in any way. The business isn't really growing. They just did this whole episode about how they needed to hire somebody, and then by the end of the episode I don't think they ever hired anybody, right?
Right.
So like it doesn't seem to be about the growth of the business at all. So I don't so like in a lot of ways
it's weird that it's
it
called
can't be about
Alex
that.
Inc.
Yeah.
Which
Well-
I'm not calling that anymore. It's Alex Incorporated. You're not getting me to say the abbreviation. Your show is called Alex Incorporated.
So and then if that's the case, why is that not the name of his business? Like that would have been such a great way for them to tie that in. Like right now it's a very nonsensical title, really.
It's a Hindi word that, like, if I'm an investor, I see it and I'm like, what does that mean? Why would I want to give you money? But bonus for Alex Incorporated, which is also what I'm going to refer to the company as, they already got $10,000 in funding from a real world investor who guest starred in the pilot episode, and then without any without any content, were able to secure an advertising deal with Squarespace.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Because in the 5th episode, they're like, we haven't even launched an episode yet. It's like, what have you been doing then?
Yeah, every episode you're recording all of this stuff, so what exactly is happening? You're not releasing episodes, you're not. So I think in terms of it being a show about podcasting. I don't think that that's what it is. I don't think it's even trying to be that. And so I think in a weird way you have to kind of like not ignore that aspect, but like
And
that's
I would
just
be
set dressing.
completely fine with ignoring that aspect if every episode the largest font in the like in the I don't know, like the opening, they're not credits though because it's not like during a theme song. They're just like the titles. If
Right.
the largest font of the titles was not inspired by the podcast startup from Gimlet Media, which also, why isn't their company just called Gimlet Media?
Probably because that's trademarked, to be
Yeah, but
entirely honest.
didn't that guy get paid? Didn't he like, I'd like to buy your story, your podcast, and do a show
But
about it?
right, but paying a dude once just to be like, yo, we want to tell your story is very different than God knows how long we'll have to pay this dude. Imagine if the show became a big hit and that guy was suddenly just like, all right, now you're gonna have to pay me more, or you can't use it when it comes time to renew this. It's much easier for them to just completely cut that dude out, pay him once, and walk away. I mean, here's the thing: have you listened to Startup at all?
No, I haven't. I
It
can't.
is
I'm not doing fucking homework
it
for
no,
Alex
it,
Incorporated.
it's I mean pure curiosity, I went and I listened to it, and like it's really interesting. Like it is a dude seriously talking about what it took for him to like start up this business, and the toll it took on his family, and that sort of stuff. So there is like this weird aspect to it where it's very much about like the show itself, Alex Inc. is like definitely building on that, but it's twisting the source material in a way that always happens. Like I'm not here to be like it's not true to the podcast. That's that. Oh my god, anybody out
Oh,
there
you've
that's
grown
become
out
that
of
nerd.
college, Sejan.
Oh, God.
Congratulations.
No. There's no way that there's anybody out there that has the emotional attachment to this podcast so much that they're just like, this show's ruining the podcast for me. That's like when we get to that point in history, then you can give me shit. But no,
I wasn't trying to give you
I don't
shit.
know,
I'm
man.
just saying, in college, you
So
said that a
like,
lot.
is there a is there like a well, we were in college when Lord of the Rings was coming out in theaters, man. Conversations about books and media were
We were not in college when that came out because the third one came out when I was a senior in high school because I ditched school to go see it. And one of the guys that came with us, his father forbid him from seeing me ever again because I was a bad influence. And bonus, he was responsible for our laundry, our trash pickup, and just flat out stopped doing trash pickup for a month. Like my actions had fucking consequences. Anyone who like knows me, stepping away from the thesis of this episode for a second, anyone who thinks I live my life as if there are no consequences, I have experienced real world fucking consequences more than once for my actions as if nothing matters and everyone can be a pawn.
and it's never stopped you.
It's not gonna, but you can't let that discourage you. So our house stunk for 1 month. And then you know what else? You want to know a story? Like, this is first. I love not using a name telling this story, just like for starters. Because first, I doubt that the person listens. And if they do, thank you very much for your earballs. But second, like these are like some of the crazier things that I did. And the last one, the way that this story like kind of wraps up is his older sister had a kegger at their house, and I was there. Like I just wound up there to hang out with my friend, not to be at the kegger. But then they didn't know how to tap a keg, so I wound up tapping the keg. His younger brother had a friend over who ended up getting so drunk that he succumbed to alcohol poisoning, and I had to keep him alive through the night. And then the keg was getting picked up the next morning because fucking amateurs, right? Like they don't understand that like you're not gonna finish a keg in one night. So I wound up staying up after I got that kid like back to not like about to die. I ended up sitting up with a fire and a keg of beer and finishing that keg of beer. So, like, yeah, I might be a bad influence, but I literally just saved all 3 of you kids from getting caught by you for throwing a kegger. And if your response to ditching school to see Return of the King is to forbid me from ever seeing your son again and to then not pick up our trash for a month, you're welcome.
I wonder if that's how everybody saw Return of the King, because I also ditched school to go and see it. I think that was just kind of like everybody just was like, you need to see this movie. Like, it just, at this point, everybody needs to go and finish this thing.
To the fact that I did not like Fellowship of the Ring, I still have not seen The Two Towers, but like, this is the one where shit's gonna happen, right? This is the one that I should see in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Oscar-winning one, right?
Yeah. When like I saw it was up, I'm like, so it's gonna win the Oscar, and I'm completely fine with that because it was a great movie.
Oh man,
back to Alex Incorporated.
Yeah, I mean,
you touched on something that I'd like to address before we move forward. That beautiful recording booth that he pitched a fucking fit about because he wasn't consulted. Let's like take a step back from the fucking pissing contest that was the third episode of Alex Incorporated and talk about the fact that Michael Imperioli's character built them a studio grade recording booth for $1,500.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The second he's like, and it only costs $1,500, like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not mad at you anymore. 'Cause holy shit.
Yeah. Well, and like the point that's made in that episode of like when he suddenly is like going to have to pay more money for rental space, but he had already talked about the idea of renting out office space somewhere. He was like so upset about the raise in money, but we'd already introduced the idea that he was willing to pay for a new space.
They were also talking about rental time, like at an actual studio, and she's like, the cheapest we can get is for like $400 for an hour and a half. Yeah. So it's like, so the $1,500 that even like plus the up in rent, you're saving money overall.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing is that like, plus he's being a real dick about our rental. In the pilot, they paid for 3 months. They had to pay for 3 months in the incubator up front. It's why he touched his 401k. And then they're like, he's really trying to screw us on the rent. And I'm like, so let me get this straight, Alex Incorporated. You've been in this incubator for 3 months. You've got investors giving you $10,000. You've got an advertising deal with Squarespace. And you still haven't produced any fucking content?
Yeah, it has a real storyline continuity problem if that is the story it's trying to tell. But that's what I mean, is it really feels like that's just not the story. It really just comes down to it's trying to be a workplace comedy, but with a nondescript workplace and like family comedy. So
and that would be fine. Like,
if that is what it is, then we have to try and figure out like, okay, what is the spine of this show? Because they are focusing so hard on it being about him getting into this business, but then they're not doing anything with that business. So, like, what is it?
That's a real good question, Zijin, because I was thinking that exact same thing where I'm like, in the nanny episode, where he ends up firing the nanny because the kids are old enough to take care of themselves, which they were totally old enough to take care of themselves.
Yes.
And that there is no bigger proof of that than the fact that they live in New York City, because I have stood outside of the Gramercy Theater waiting for shows beginning at like 3 p.m. on school days, and kids younger than Soraya and Ben, is that the Ben and Soraya, literally just sitting in the street playing with each other.
Well, they're 13. They're 13 and 11, right? Like, I think that's the ages that they give them.
No,
in the episode.
I think they're 10 and 8, or they're 11 and 8.
11 and 8. That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. We were watching this episode, and even everybody watching it with me was just like, I'm pretty sure my parents were leaving me alone by the time I was 10.
I mean, part of that is the fact that the world has changed. So there is this whole thing where, like, you're a fucking monster if you leave your kid unattended. How dare you not be there for your child at every waking moment you are available? Which is why
But the
kids
other
are
thing,
not independent anymore. And
well, right. But the other problem with all of this too is that we're not talking about leaving them alone all day. This isn't like they needed a nanny to like run their lives. They literally needed a nanny for the 2 hours after school they came home. Like that was the big plot thing, is that they'd be coming home from school and there would be nobody there for a couple of hours. And I like 2 hours after school, 10 years old, 11 years old, watching. I don't know. It was again
they're called
pushing
latchkey
a point.
kids. There's an entire terminology for that type of person. And here's
Right.
the real strange thing is that this is an interesting thing about television in general when like there's a confluence of storylines. Like every show does the same storyline. In Young Sheldon, they Mary, his mom, got a job at the church. So the kids are going to be alone after school for like 2 hours. And they're like, oh, can we trust them? And da 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 da. They're 9. Missy and Sheldon are 9 years old. It's 1989. And then they're also like, yeah, but Sheldon's like an adult. Like, they will be fine.
Yeah.
And they were fine.
I mean, it's a sitcom trope episode, right? Like, will the kids be okay without supervision? Is in every sitcom. But Bob's Burgers goes into that well all the time.
Yeah, but Bob's Burgers goes into that well all the time, and those are 3 of the most capable children currently on television.
Right. So like, trying to, I don't know, man, trying to put your finger on exactly what the show's trying to do is really difficult still, and I don't know. I mean, at what point does a show need to find its footing, right? I mean, 5, 6 episodes. There's plenty of shows out there that have lasted a really long time. That its first
Seinfeld.
like half a season were
Seinfeld
just
is 2 whole seasons. No, 3 whole seasons. Well, the first one is only like 5 episodes. But like you have 3 seasons of Seinfeld where Seinfeld has no fucking clue what it wants to be. And then
Right.
they get to season 4, and that's when the storytelling becomes really serialized. They lean into the fact that it's a show about nothing, and like that's the Seinfeld that you remember is
Right.
4 to the episode before the Puerto Rican Day,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah.
Frogger.
The one that I always go back to is remember the first 6 episodes of Parks and Rec is a very different show than what the rest of Parks
First
and
6
Rec is.
episodes of The Office are
Right.
1-to-1 remakes of the first 6 episodes of the UK Office.
Right. So I mean, like, part of this is that we really are only in the first 5 episodes of this show, and like, so it's just really difficult to figure out where it's trying to go. But I think where it's going to lean is it's really going to lean on the idea of the kind of reporter that Alex is. And I think that that's what they really need to build on. The idea that he is really into other humans, and like, you know, the idea that he's a dreamer is present from day one, because I mean he throws away everything to start this new business, right? And this idea that he like really passionately cares about things and people comes up in every episode. I think there's a really good moment when he's talking to the billionaire again, because he seems to just keep interviewing really rich people. That seems to be the shtick of his show, is I'm going to interview this really rich person today. When he's talking to the Latin American one there, and he mentions to his father about the dude's father's boots or something like that, and the guy like freaks out and is just like, I can't believe that you're all like, you remember that episode about the boots, because nobody ever remembers the boots. All they ever want to know in that episode is if I spent this money on this or something. And he's like so happy that he picked out this one little minor detail. And like, that's where Alex shines, is because he finds these really important details in people's lives and really focuses on them. And they grow very attached to him, right? Like, even at the end of that episode, when he fires that woman, fires that nanny, like, she's happy to go. Like, she's like, I was going to retire anyway, so don't worry. Like, yes. And they like have a big old hug and everything. Like, the whole idea of him being just a good person trying to make sure that good people around him are taken care of is like, it seems to be like the meat of what they're trying to get to. And if that is the case, then I want to see more stuff with his family. I want to see more stuff with him talking to people and interviewing people in the community. I want to learn more about the people in the box that they're in there. What do they call it?
The incubator?
Yeah, the incubator. Like,
Yeah,
I want to
that-
learn more about those people. Like if that's where this show is going to go, then they gotta drop all of this podcast like hot button word stuff that they do. Like they drop all of this stuff in like Squarespace and what was the big recording booth thing that there was like pieces of it they were talking about that I was like, oh, look at you did your vocab lookup. Like, I don't know, man.
The microphones, the type of microphones, and there are 2 of these in there. And I'm like, and he got it all for $1,500. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's a really nice thing that he did for you.
Yeah, and then at the under the episode, we learned that he also was able to talk down the rent increase, right? Like man.
Like, that's the other thing is that he like definitely reached out to Michael Imperioli as his second cousin because he needs his skills in order to succeed. Like, he makes it like very clear that like if this was going to work, I needed the help of my second cousin Eddie. His name is Eddie. I fucking hate that. All I think is vacation every time. Plus, I love Michael Imperioli, so like, yeah, fucking win, right? High five for what you just did here, iNCORPORATED. And then he constantly questions the stuff that he wants to do. It's like, why did you bring him in then? Like, he's not there, like, because his mom called and he's like, he's having a tough time. Can you give him a job in your new company? He's there because you specifically sought him out because you knew that he would fill in a deficiency that you would have as a business runner.
Yeah, you know what it is? It feels like a lot of the intention and set dressing and everything going on is really trying to aim towards a very like newer audience with all of this podcasting stuff. But then at the end of the day, it still falls back on a lot of old stories and tropes, right? And it's got to find a good way to balance that, I guess. I don't know, man. Because it's trying to tell very classic tales in a very new setting, and it's not doing that quite well yet.
I mean, like, to look at it, I never said it about the nanny episode, but that episode where he hires the nanny to be the assistant in the office, which I cannot imagine that they need an assistant. Like, that seems like one of those, like, things where it's like, oh, we're a company, we should have this. And it's like, you really don't have the work in order to do that. Mostly it looks like the 3 of you sit around.
I also wonder, isn't assistant the job title that what's her name has
that
there?
Deirdre has? Isn't that her job? Yes.
Right. Yeah. So then.
So we need another administrative assistant because I don't know why.
This one has just become emotional support. She's no longer.
Because this episode needs to have a way for you to fire your nanny but be a really good guy and give her a job at the company.
Right.
Because this is totally just for the plot. Because, like you said, they don't end up hiring one.
No, they never make it a point to be like, so we fired her and hired this one instead. And then, like, I guarantee you next episode, there's not going to be a 4th person working in that office.
Yeah, even if they had hired somebody, that wouldn't be there. So, like, I do wonder if the air order against the production order a lot when I watch this show. But also, like, that's when I'm like, okay, this is the kind of thing where it's like, this is a workplace comedy. And I'm like, then just make it a vague environment that he works in. Don't have it that he quit his job to start this company. It could just be a company that he runs, and we question, what does this company do? How many times did we do that for Chandler or Barney or like thousands of characters who had like vague jobs so that we could tell good office setting stories?
Speaking of Seinfeld, they do that all the time with George. Like he moves in and out of jobs so fast that you're never sure what he's quite doing in an office, but they're still able to tell plenty of great office stories with him.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like that's what they do that in the beginning, and then he works at the Yankees for freaking years, and then they have him go to like Kruger Industrial Smoothing, and like they do a good job of that. Also, Elaine, right? Like you think about George as it because it's such a thing, but Elaine goes from working at I don't know where she worked at her first job, but she got George the job there when he slept with the maid, and then she goes and works for Mr. Pitt as like his manservant, and then she gets the job at J. Peterman. Like they did a really good job balancing that, and it was never important what the job was. It just allowed them to tell workplace environ stories.
Right. So the fact that Alex Inc. is going to focus so much on the small details of the job stuff makes you think that it's going to be a comedy about podcasting, but then it doesn't have the depth there to carry that. Like there's no foundation really to that story, you know?
Right. And so the other show that this could be is a family story, right? Like it's like this is a family sitcom, which arguably it does that stuff a little bit better. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for casting the best person for the job. Let's be colorblind in our casting. But then when you have an episode that is specifically about the culture of the kids and them feeling left out because of it, it sort of highlights the fact that it seems like you have an African American actress playing the daughter of a New York Jew and an Indian woman.
Yeah. No, I mean, like there's, that's a, they highlight a weird issue that they have, and it makes you really uncomfortable to see them try and navigate it. I will say that I think they actually navigate it really well. I mean, they even straight up point out in moments like certain things that they're clearly working on, right? Like she makes a comment about her own multiracial skin tone and all that stuff, and about how it does look different than her brothers and stuff and all that. So like, I think that they navigate that well and they handle it well, but I think that maybe they weren't necessarily thinking about that very specific episode when they cast that family. Let's put it that way, right? Like if that's the story they want to tell, then they probably should have really focused on that when they were putting the show together, right? I it almost feels like halfway through creating this show, it became something else. And so what they have is they have a lot of these scripts that were written to focus on one thing, and then they realized they needed to like punch them up to focus on another. So you end up with this weird like back and forth like mishmash of concepts and focus.
I mean, I can agree. I mean, because like, let's be honest. When this show was first announced, when we talked about it about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, because we did talk about this as something that we were interested in, and you seemed to be interested for the Zach Braff of it all, and I was
Mm-hmm.
interested in the podcast aspect of it all for
Mm-hmm.
obvious reasons. He said while recording a podcast, but then for the show to come out and like the marketing to me all felt like it was about the podcast aspect of the show,
It
and then
was, yeah.
and then it focuses on the family part. I think that they tested it and they're like, yeah, guess what? Nobody wants to watch a show about a podcast.
Yeah, well, and I think that that's what this comes down to, right? Is I think at the end of the day, I think the realization was that they had a really great idea for maybe a movie or maybe like a good 6 episode show, right? Which doesn't work in this country. That's just not the way that we do television. That's not the way that we do sitcoms. So I think it kind of had to force itself into a different style of show than what it was really kind of meant to. And I think that that's what we're kind of dealing with right now. And, you know, some shows survive that. You know, we've talked about that with already this episode. Like, there's plenty of shows that start off with the idea that they're going to try and be one thing, realize that that's not going to work for a whole series, and force themselves into another. And I think, again, Parks and Rec, if you go back and look at what that show was trying to be and what it then became, like, it found its footing. It was able to save itself. It pulled itself out of whatever weird tailspin its first season had kind of put it in, being way too mean and way too much like an Office sequel than anything else. And it was not that as soon as it came back from season 2, right? So, I mean, I don't think that this show is dead yet. I think this show has definitely still got some legs to it. I just think that it's going to need to make some really hard and fast decisions about what it is, real quick.
Well, one of the other reasons that I wanted to record this episode when we're recording this episode, you just touched on, and that is the fact that you don't think this show is dead yet. I kind of do, because of the way that they're airing it. Special airings on a night that it is not usually scheduled
Yeah.
usually spells like that's sort of a death toll or a death knell in like the fact that, all right, so people are not watching this show
What's the
at
network for it again? Just remind me again.
ABC.
ABC? Okay.
Yeah, people are not watching this show on Wednesdays at 8:30. Let's try putting it on Tuesday at 9 and see if we get viewers then.
Mm.
Well, it's Tuesday at 9:30, right? Let's see
Yeah.
if maybe this is geared towards like the person who doesn't have a show to already watch at 8:30 on a Wednesday. Which, spoilers, there ain't nothing else on at 8:30 on a Wednesday. So if you're a new show and nobody's watching you, people aren't really interested, right? Because you're up against
Yeah.
Survivor, which, do people still watch Survivor? I say
Man,
as someone who was
is.
all about Survivor and just had to turn away from it in
Yeah,
the recent stuff.
I will say that there is definitely a sect of people that are still super into it. Whether or not it's as big as it used to be, I can't speak to, but I do know that that group of people still exists.
but like the fact that they are doing that, and then this week, following this, the 25th of April, they're showing one at 8:30 and at 9:30. So first of all, it looks like they're burning through their episodes so that they can get rid of their like existing obligation to this show without fear of remuneration.
Yeah.
And it also feels like they don't know where to put it, right? Because what if the fourth episode, the nanny episode airing at 9:30, worked? And so that's why we're going to try it on Wednesday at 9:30 and see if it works. Like, they're playing a lot of television science experiments with Alex Incorporated right now, and it seems like this is the time to talk about it then. Before, like, very easily after this Wednesday, it could be announced that the show is canceled. Because it's just not picking up the viewers. And it's not picking up the viewers. I did look at the ratings, and they are not great for what this show is.
Yeah, I mean, it's also airing at a really weird time of the year. I mean, like, I don't know why this show didn't start a month earlier, 2 months earlier, with everything else coming back. Like, I don't know if they...
Yeah, it's
I don't
weird,
know if ABC...
This was a mid-season replacement that came at the end of the season.
Right.
Same with Splitting Up Together, but that show is awful. Splitting Up Together is just the mean, and like I love Oliver Hudson. Oliver Hudson. He's ever since I saw him play Ziegler in Going Greek, I have been a fan of the man as an actor. And the show is just mean, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch this. This would be a good movie. This is not a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, funny that's exactly kind of the way I feel about the Alex Inc. stuff, is I really do feel like it would have worked perfectly as like a 2-hour film, but trying to stretch it out into a series is just kind of going to be rough.
And that's the other reason why I'm happy that we got to watch 5 episodes, because that's about a 2-hour film worth of content.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I know that the way that it's moving around is not a good sign, and I know the fact that the ratings of people watching it on TV are not great. But I also know that nowadays that there's more and more stuff that doesn't matter. You know, I mean, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is infamously one of the worst rated television shows ever as far as viewers numbers go. You know, but at the end of the day, it also is now going into its 4th season. So. I mean that's true.
None of the like on demand or streaming numbers were in for Alex Incorporated yet, but going off of I don't know, ABC of all the networks seems to be the one that cares the most about ratings the day of.
Yeah, CBS I think does too, because they don't understand the internet, but I think what they do is they kind of remove themselves from the equation because of that. Like the fact that the only streaming service they're really connected to is their own kind of removes them from the whole online ratings equation, right? Whereas ABC, as much as they may not want to acknowledge that stuff, they still play that game, you know? They still put their stuff up on Hulu, they still put their on-demand stuff out there, and they have to kind of pay attention to that, you know?
The evidence that ABC still cares about ratings is the fact that every week after Tuesday, the news cycle is dominated by how many viewers and what the ratings were for Roseanne.
Yeah.
Like the fact, like, that's not really news. Yes, people are watching a show, right? NBC did not talk about its ratings that it got from Will and Grace. After that first episode, they just announced that it was renewed for a 2nd season. That's how they did that. It wasn't every week. People love this show. And the fact that ABC is fucking tight-lipped about how badly American Idol is doing, because they don't want to acknowledge how bad the ratings are and that nobody is watching. Like, they're a weird network that, like, really cares about the ratings, where, like, NBC's like, nah, we don't really give a shit. We're going to put the shows on that we want to put on.
Right. NBC's the one that puts on that face, but they still care. There's a lot of stuff that they do.
But I guess I'm just talking about, like, if we're
you
talking
want
about
you want a network that really doesn't give a shit, then it's the CW. The CW doesn't give a shit about ratings.
So let's look at, there are basically 5 major networks right now.
Right.
And you have the fucking Breakfast Club, right? They'll make them the Breakfast Club. The Brain, that's CBS, right? They know what they know. They know who they're appealing to. They don't give a shit about anything else, right?
Right.
Friggin' ABC, Dash Your Princess, right? They want to be liked by everybody because they were liked before. They're putting on the face for everybody. Life is pretty good for ABC as the princess, right? Then you have
Right.
NBC. They're the jock. They're fucking Emilio Estevez. They're like, we're good. We know what we're doing. Like, we win the stuff that we win. Yeah, we're fucking NBC. And you got Fox, which is John Bender, the criminal. And then you have fucking the CW, that's Ali Sheedy's Outcast. Or Basket Case.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So like CW just doesn't CW it's almost this idea that they know that they're not going to win the game, so they don't even bother playing it. Like
Right.
they're just right.
Like, we're doing our own thing. We're making it snow with dandruff.
Yeah, so I mean, like ABC definitely is going to care about what happens with the television ratings, but I also, it's funny to me that if they're going to really profess that this show is like all about the new wave of technology and all of this stuff with podcasting, the fact that they would then tie it so strongly to something as archaic as the old rating system is really ironic.
You know what? Do you know exactly what got Alex Incorporated greenlit as a show? Zach Braff's going to be doing monologues again.
Yeah.
Like that has to be it. Zach, like, part of the show is that the main character is like doing narration for his show. And it's like, oh, okay. Who you got in mind? Zach Braff? Here's $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. ABC's just like more Zach Braff doing
more Zach
10
Braff
minutes
talking,
of preaching to us about how we should all love each other as humans. All right. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, as a podcaster, like, do you feel like the show is meaningful to you in any way, just as a podcaster?
It makes me feel a little bit inadequate. I'm going to be completely honest with you, and that bothers me because I'm not really the type of person who feels that way. But I watch the stuff that he does, and like he keeps like falling ass backwards into successful situations in the show, and I'm like, that'd be nice if that's how it really happened, wouldn't it?
Right.
Like, wouldn't it be great if I like could get a meeting with Squarespace and then convince them to give us money while we have no show?
Yeah, there's not really a struggle for him.
Yeah. And that's the
like
other
they
thing,
keep
that,
highlighting that it should be a struggle, but then every episode is about how lucky he is, and it's not.
You threw away everything for this, Alex, and I'm nervous. Why are you fucking nervous? Because I brought our daughter to a meeting with a fucking cowboy, we got funding. Because my two employees fucking had a pissing contest with each other, I was able to convince an advertiser and get an interview at the same time. Like, I'm thinking about eating a bowl of shit today, and I'm guessing that's going to be the cure for some, like, disease I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, there it is. Turns out this is how you create immortals. Turns out you just kind of slip, fall, and land in it. Yeah.
Like, and the last one, the last thing as a podcaster that really got under my skin, and I wanted to save it till the end, was the guy that they met with, the Latin American guy about the boots.
Mm-hmm.
What they were meeting with him was to have their podcast played during his radio program. Is that a fucking thing?
I don't know, man. I to me, I kind of
is that a
completely
thing?
I kind of completely zoned out on the specifics, and I think that that's a lot of what you have to do with this show, is you just kind of have to just give it to them,
right?
Because the specifics, you just kind of have to buy into their nonsense world of how this all really works. And I think that that's really what kills me the most, is that it really was sold as a show about podcasting and about the comedy of like what this world is like, but then it's not about that, because the detail isn't there, the depth isn't there for that. But then if it's not that, I don't know what it is, and so that's what I'm waiting for. It was very much sold to me as this show about podcasting. It's not that. Okay, I'm okay with that. I can live with that. But now you've got to prove to me what you are then instead. And so that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. Again, it's nowhere near. Like, it's not. Gravity isn't even touching that shoe right now. Because every week it feels like a different show. Mm-hmm. Which, like, if that was what they were going for, I'd kind of be okay with it if you had some sort of through line. But there's nothing, there's no, like even like with his family, it doesn't like his daughter is mad at him because he's not home to read to her before she goes to bed. But
Yeah.
then we see that she can read. We see that she's very intelligent, and we see that she's like willing to watch a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
That she's like is like this is a lot right now. TV show
Yeah.
you're trying to. She feels like Louise Belcher in all like the weirdest ways, where she's like she's a daddy's girl and she wants to be supportive of her dad and have the love of her dad, but she's still also this little rebel child,
Right.
and it's not working. And then like the butterfly pavilion thing, where it's like, oh, you're gonna have to go to that like even the family stuff just doesn't make sense.
No, the family stuff also is a little weird. I mean, like the monster that they make his wife out to be, that they have to in order for a lot of these storylines to work, is genuinely upsetting to me. Like the way that they have to turn her into just this
I love Tia
horrible
Sakar. I
parent.
love Tia Sakar, and
But the joke has to reside on her just being awful at taking care of her own kids without him. Like that is the entire joke of that episode, is just how hopeless she is with her own children. And that was upsetting, like to a point where it wasn't funny anymore. It was just like, you're just a bad parent. You're just a terrible parent. You shouldn't have kids.
And that episode is tied to the fight about the recording booth in it. Like that is a pure half hour of negativity. Like it's just an upsetting episode of television, because this guy, like, he legitimately tried to do something nice for you, and all you want to do is tear him down and act like he's trying to get you or prove that he's better than you. Meanwhile, your wife is showing that, like, I probably should have been legally forbidden from procreating.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know, man. I want it to work. I want it to work. Just like I want, I always want things to succeed. And so like I'm interested to see where it goes. But if it's being moved around as much as you're talking about on ABC, which, God, if I would ever know that, because I don't watch things on television anymore, right?
Exactly.
And,
that's
and
sort of what I bring to the table, Sejin. You understand the internet. I understand basically everything else. I'll give you women. You understand women, too.
Thanks. Women in the internet. I take those
two things that most people don't have proficiency in both. So, like, you're almost a unicorn.
Oh man, I really do hope that this show sticks around and gets a chance to try and really be something. I don't know what that is, and I don't know when it'll happen, but I do want it to get that opportunity, because I think that a lot of the people involved are really good. I mean, we've talked about like Cousin Eddie, like he's a fantastic character and a fantastic actor, and I mean, Zach Braff doing his thing is like, at the end of the day, it's effective. There's a reason that Scrubs worked for as long as it did, so I have no doubt that he can't carry whatever it is that they throw at him. What it is so far that they've given him is he's done really well with. There's been beautiful moments in every episode. I mean, the moment in the last episode when he interviews his mother-in-law is really good. The moment of the pilot when he's talking to his kids about the importance of like radio broadcasts is really good. So like there's definitely like these moments that are worth it. It's just there's got to be more of them, and it's got to be more cohesive.
Yeah, it feels like each episode is like, we have this moment. How do we build 21 more minutes of programming around it?
Yeah, how do we get to this moment, and what does that moment mean?
Yeah. Which is, I mean, usually I don't know. I like to not. I don't like to write from an end point. I like to write from a beginning.
Yeah, but I think, like you were saying earlier, I think when part of the show is sold to ABC on the idea that Zach Braff is going to be this very specific type of character that he's really good at playing, I think that then the problem comes that that's what they're expecting every episode. So in the writers' room, of course, that's where they're starting, because that's where the promise of this show lies, right?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And like, I'll even say, like, the final word after the pilot episode, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this show, and yet there is something about it. Whether I want to see if they nailed the podcasting, or I want to see, just what they do with his family, that brings me back every week. Mm-hmm. So it got itself into my cabeza enough that I want to check it out and want to keep watching it. But right now, I'm not really rooting for its success. I am rooting for it to have at least one cohesive season. Like, and I'd be fine if the last one is that, like, we're a successful podcasting company.
Right.
And then they all drink champagne.
and that's what we'll do.
Anything else to add before we wrap her up?
No, I mean, check the show out for yourselves, and if there's anything that you guys feel about it, don't hesitate to send stuff our way. We like hearing counterpoints. We also like being told that we're right. So, send us whatever you got.
Exactly. And so if you want to send us those counterpoints or praise, I can be reached at Devin D. Decker on Twitter.
And I'm at Siege versus the World.
And until next time, let's send it away to England for our sister podcast, Will Incorporated.
Thank you for listening to the sAY Report with your host Devin Decker and Stephen Selwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for the sAY Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.
Welcome on back, everybody, to the back half of the episode. This is still Siegen and Devin. Devin.
Hi, I'm Devin. I'm still here.
Oh, apparently, it's just Siegen.
Wait, can
hi,
you
Devin.
not hear me?
We're going to do something now. No, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, I'm
my
scared.
God.
I'm so scared. Oh wow, you sold me. You sold me on that whole. I can't hear you, Devin. Where are you?
Acting.
Acting.
So speaking of acting, we are we have come in at the end here because we wanted to make sure that as we are releasing this banked episode, it is Brendan Fraser month, and we wanted to make sure that we pay our dues, as it were. So Devin, I got a little something for you after last week. I got a little quiz.
Oh, I got a quiz. You got a quiz for me?
Yes. I got a quiz for you. Let's all act surprised. More acting. Acting. Oh my God, a quiz.
Oh my God, it's rated quizzes.
Man. This is another one sent in by Kevin. I think he wanted to make sure this time that you looked like the idiot and not me. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Like when you forgot that he was in G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra.
I didn't forget that he was in G.I. Joe Rise of
He's
Cobra. I stand
credited.
by the fact that I am 100% sure he is not credited. That is right. That is right, other me. Oh my God, did you hear that weird echo? All right, man. Are you ready for this? Let's get through this. The Brendan Fraser quote quiz. Oh, I thought you were going to play some music. Okay. Well, so here's the deal. I'm going to say a quote from Brendan Fraser, and you have to tell me what movie he is speaking in. The quote's from would have been the right way to say that.
Wow,
anyway,
he nailed you.
Are you ready to do this thing, man?
I'm born ready to do this.
Are you ready to do
Play
this?
along at home.
All right. I'm trying to decide if I'm trying to decide if I really want to inflect or if I just want to do this as stone cold as possible.
You're the one who has food coming.
Reading the first question. Yeah, the first question, I right away know that I want to do this as stone cold as possible.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Fuck. Why do these guys have to be black? I mean, why? No matter how I spin this thing, I'm either going to lose the black vote or I'm going to lose the Law and Order vote.
You're huge in the black community. Crash.
There you go. Get your one. All right. That's the only one. Well, we'll see. That's probably not the only one, but all right. Number 2. You ready for this one?
I'm born ready.
Yeah, right. No harm ever came from reading a book. Do you remember how that one went?
Is it iNCORPORATED?
Oh, you spoke over your quote, didn't you, Devin?
No, I didn't, because you were quoting iNCORPORATED.
You tried to make
no,
funny.
It's the mummy. It's the fucking mummy. It's the mummy.
Is that your final answer?
It's the mummy.
You're incorrect.
Oh, is it the Mummy Returns?
It is the Mummy Returns.
Fuck!
It's the Mummy Returns. Man.
At least
Oh,
I
look at
didn't
that.
go on
Okay,
record
one for
with
two. One for
Inkheart.
two. Here we go. Right. We got the hardest one coming up. You ready?
Yeah, born ready.
The hardest
boy.
one on the whole page. This is Canada, Nell. Things are real up here.
Well, that's Dudley Do Right.
Yes, that is Dudley Do Right. I don't know why he dared put a name in a quote, Kevin. You can't do that.
He also put Canada.
All right, man. Yeah. Question number 4, because you got 2 out of 3 so far. You ready for this one?
Yes.
Well, that makes sense, you speaking weasel.
Oh, oof.
That's a hard one, right?
Ooh,
I mean, he does mention a weasel. We do know that he knows a pretty famous weasel.
I know, which is the issue.
But am I just throwing you off?
I have to go with Monkey Bone. I have to go with Monkey Bone. Final answer.
That is incorrect.
Shit, is it Encino Man?
It is not Encino Man. You ready for this one?
Yeah. Oh,
it
no!
Is iNCORPORATED.
It's iNCORPORATED. Thank God. Oh fuck! I've never seen In Cut.
Yes.
So like,
There you go. All right, so you are 2 for 4, 50%, 50, doing better than I did last week. All right, here we go. I was practicing this one for a while, so I apologize. Let's see if I can do this. All right. Muy bien, me ahora no podrá estar. I did not do that exactly
well,
right,
it's
but there
from
you go.
Bedazzled. I speak Spanish. Oh my god, I'm speaking Spanish. God, I fucking love
All right,
Bedazzled.
all right. 3 out of 5. I'm so pissed. Why am I the one that is saying all the stupid stuff this time? God. All right, you ready for question number 6?
Yeah. Or
We
Sace.
He's the juice.
Encino Man.
Yes. Yes, that one is Encino, man. Question number 7. I didn't lie to you. I lied to my father. I lied to myself.
I didn't lie to you. I lied to my father. I lied to myself. Can I hear it one more time?
I didn't lie to you. I lied to my father. I lied to myself.
Jeez. I have literally no idea. I'm gonna go with Blast from the Past.
No, School Ties.
Oh, fucking School Ties! You know, I ate at
Yes,
the
man.
diner
All right.
from School Ties. But that's the story for another Brendan Fraser History Month episode.
You're still at a 4 out of 7. You're still at 4 out of 7, though. Don't
Still
get
doing better
too
than
bad
CJ,
yet.
right?
Here, let's see if you can do this one.
Yeah.
Yvonne, get your shit and go. You'll be home in time for The Simpsons.
Oof. Ooh. I'm gonna go with Airheads.
Yes, exactly.
It's from Airheads.
It's a funny joke because there's Simpsons actors in that movie. Yes. All right. Here we go. I got you something. It's a chocolate baseball bat.
Oh, Brendan Fraser truly is a national treasure. I have no idea though. Oof. I'm gonna go with George of the Jungle.
No, The Scout.
Oh, the fuck this! I
got you
love
something.
the Scout.
Chocolate baseball bat.
God, he's so
There you
good.
go.
He's
All right,
so
man.
good in the
Last
Scout.
question. You're at 5 out of 9 though, right?
Yeah. So
No,
if I
4
get-
out of 9.
No, 5. Right. I got Crash.
No, you're at 5 out of 9. So if you get this one right,
I
you're
beat
officially
Season.
at 60%. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Really? Just here we go.
Here we
again?
go again. I could do it more like he does it. Hold on, wait. Hold on, give me a second. Here we go again. No, wait, no. He says it like 6 times in this movie, so I'm trying to figure out exactly which quote Kevin pulled it from. Here
Looney
we go
Tunes
again.
Back in action.
There's also that one. No,
Is it George of the Jungle?
I'll give you another chance on this one. No, it's the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Oh, I didn't want to think that. I didn't want to give that movie any credence. I've never seen that one.
All right,
either.
man. 50%. 5 out of 10. Really? Oh
Yeah.
man.
And I wanna-
that's surprising. Here's the thing. It's not a good movie. But it's still a mummy movie.
Dude, I gotta be like
It's totally worth it, man.
his son is there, right?
It's
like,
weird. Yeah, their son is there, and it's
Jet
an
Li is the
Asian
mummy?
mummy this time, and things get a little weird. Yeah, things get a little weird that way too, a little dicey. Timeline-wise, things are a little awkward because it's no longer the 50s, which is kind of like the whole
the
thing
30s?
about the mummy
It was
movies,
the 30s.
or whatever, the 30s. It is the 50s, I think. I
Yeah,
think that's what I was
it's
trying to say.
20
Is
years
like it is like
past.
a weirdly set like 15 years later or something like that. Yeah. So
You just need to
I
be
guess that's
honest
our
with me, though.
recommendation for this week.
You have
Mummy
to
Tomb
be
of the
honest
Dragon
with me about Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. When the mummy
Okay.
appears, does he go Asians? Why did it have to be Asians? Either way I spin this, I lose the Asian vote or I lose the cops.
Yeah,
See, I crashed
after
them
Crash,
together.
he was just racist in everything.
Oh wow, we need a racist for this role. You know who we should get? Brendan Fraser.
Oh God, can't
No,
do that to the poor man.
no, and actually, he's not.
As it
super-
is, Hollywood won't cast him.
Trust, man, which I'm looking forward because Trust is going to finish its 10 episodes right before the next episode we're recording. So look forward to us talking about Trust.
Yeah.
Really look forward to me talking about Trust and Siegen having that pepper stuff. He'll probably have something to say about Alex Inc. if you're lucky.
Yep, there you go. Here you go. I'll say some stuff about Alex Inc. while we talk about
you didn't
Trust.
just listen to 52 minutes of us talking about Alex Inc. Thank you for listening to the sAY Report.
Whew, man.
If you want to get back to us, I'm at Devin D. Decker on Twitter. And
I'm at Siege versus the World.
And you already heard Will, so enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.